Hi, welcome back. My name is Jody from Reflective Waves Holistic Wellness, and I welcome you to this yoga review. So as you know, at the end of each one of my videos, I give you the option of leaving me a comment if you'd like me to review a certain practice that you found about what you would love to see me review next. So this review is actually coming from one of you, and this is coming from Chasten Siegel 9720. I certainly hope that I am pronouncing that correctly, and I apologize if that's not. You can always correct me down in the comments. And they would like me to review one of Yoga with Kassandra's 30-minute relax and restore. So there's a specific one that this subscriber is looking for. When they get back to me, I will absolutely do a review on that. But I did find in the meantime another one, and this is a 30-minute restorative yoga for deep healing and relaxation, legs up the wall. Now, this is really appropriate for me personally. Yesterday, I woke up with anxiety, which isn't all that strange, but it was definitely not expected. I didn't really see it coming or know why I would be having these big feelings. So I sat with it for a little while in the morning. I said, okay, you know what? Anxiety is, in fact, temporary. So I'm just going to keep working through my day, doing anything that I possibly can and am able to do with this big feeling of panic kind of rising inside of me. And I said, okay. And so I went for my meetings, I cleaned the house. But after that, I did not feel well. And I actually had a low-grade fever. So I took to bed and watched some movies, and I still wasn't feeling very well. I did not feel well until about 11:30 at night when my fever of 102.3 finally broke. I have no idea what was going on. I have a tiny bit of a sore throat, but I don't know. It's the middle of summer. Guys, has this ever happened to you? Because I have never been sick with a fever for like, I don't know, a 12-hour period and then have it kind of vanish. I'm thankful for it, and I want to talk a little bit about that and why this practice makes so much sense for what just happened to me this week. So this channel, we focus on parents, caregivers, and caregivers can be for pets or plants, no discrimination there. It can also be for yourself, grandparents, and educators, and the self-care that's so necessary to help balance and restore and recover in your day. So typically we prioritize the well-being and care of others and kind of put ourselves on the back burner. So yesterday I wasn't feeling well and I had to drop in and listen to my body. Now, I would not say that yesterday when I was feeling as sick as I was to do yoga. I wouldn't say to do that. That doesn't make sense. Your body needs deep rest and relaxation. Climbing on the floor and getting up wasn't going to be an option for me. I actually end up fainting when I have a high fever, so that doesn't make sense. That's contraindicated for me personally. When I talk about things that manage your recovery, what I'm really talking about is a lot of rest, a lot of fluids, right? Always drinking your water, your coffee, your tea, and also kind of just working through mental blocks, right? Because let me tell you, and I know you can relate to this. When you're sick, you feel like you have a million, billion, cajillion things to do on your to-do list, and now you're sick and can't do them. So there's not only is there guilt for not being able to accomplish all of the tasks that you have to do, but then there's also just this anxiety of how big that big mountain of a list is getting. Please, in the comments, if you have had this happen to you, write me a love letter. I'd love to hear about it because honestly, that is my number one thing. When I am sick, it's hard for me to turn off the idea that I need to be constantly doing things. So here's the key takeaway from all this. Recovery involves both physical and mental healing. And gentle yoga and breath work can definitely help us on our road to recovery. Now, again, big, bold underline, when you are sick, please don't practice unless it's some breath work. You can absolutely do that. But if you're like me and get super dizzy and sometimes faint, please don't practice on the floor up and down. It's not going to work well for you. I'm not a doctor and I'm not prescribing anything here, but I will tell you that gentle yoga and restorative yoga has a tremendous impact on your recovery. But we need to talk about that a little bit more. So I want to jump into the review so that I can show you what I mean by that and have it make sense for your life and your well-being.
Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in. My name is Kassandra and I'm going to take you through this restorative practice where we're just going to be doing different variations of legs up the wall. Being more restorative in nature, this is going to be obviously a very low effort practice. I'm going to be using a bolster under my hips. This is my preferred method of doing legs up the wall, is to have my hips elevated a little. So if you don't have a bolster at home, I definitely recommend just pausing the video and go get yourself either some just bed pillows or couch cushions, something that you can stack, even some like thick blankets that you can stack one on top of the other, just so that you can lift your hips up like 6 to 12 inches off of the ground. So this is a really wonderful practice if you're feeling overstimulated, if you need to, kind of take a nap without necessarily fall asleep. This is a great evening practice, but really can be done at any time of the day that you need to give yourself permission to pause and to really restore your own energy levels. So different variations of legs up the wall. This is suitable for all levels. And we're going to be in each variation for about 5 minutes or so. And this is going to be mainly like my yin yoga classes where I'm not really going to talk too much throughout the practice because I want you to really like cocoon into yourself, get really comfy, cozy. So I'm just going to guide you in and out of the variations, but otherwise won't be any talking from me. And I do encourage you, get super cozy here. So make sure you're not going to be cold. Maybe have some blankets or like a sweater or something. You can even have if you have like little eye pillows, those can be really nice to rest over your face or just dim the lights. Whatever you need to do to kind of set the mood and make sure that you'll be really comfortable, again, because we're not really going to be moving once we begin. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and just get into the traditional variation of legs up the wall. And I'm going to lift my hips up onto the bolster.
Oh, yoga with Kassandra. She is absolutely lovely. She is pulling from this deep, deep well of understanding. She's been there, folks. I can tell. She knows what it's like not to feel well. She's putting that into her practice. There is just this overwhelming sense of authenticity that emanates from her, which makes her absolutely delightful to practice with. Okay, so let's break down this first posture that she has us get into. She likes to use a bolster underneath the sacrum. You can. There's nothing neither here or there about that. I prefer to actually have my sacrum on the floor and then maybe encourage my clients to place a blanket underneath the head. This is a tough one because say you have like something going on in your throat or nose, you want to keep yourself sort of elevated so you can bring in a bolster underneath the back as well, as long as we're not doing anything moving our cervical spine around, then we're usually pretty good there. There is one other trick with this that can be really helpful. So a lot of the times my clients will approach this posture and their legs will just sort of flop out. And unless you practice regularly, that can happen. And it actually doesn't allow them to drop in as much as I would like them to when we're practicing. So what I do is I encourage them to use a strap, a belt, or they can even use a scarf and wrap it around either the thighs or the shins. Typically it's the thighs. And then they just make it ever so snug enough where it supports the legs from flopping open and out. That can be really uncomfortable. So again, something to consider when you're practicing. Adding additional props, always an option for you. We hold these postures for a really long time. And there's only about 6 of them, so I'm just going to move on to the next one.
From this variation, I'll invite you to just open your legs out into a straddle. So you can just kind of slide your heels out and down. And this is really where gravity does the work for you, so you're not trying to force yourself into the shape. Especially because we are here for 5 minutes, your legs will probably naturally open up a little bit more as we hold the pose. And try to find a point that's comfortable, that feels nourishing. And you can change maybe where you had your arms if you'd like.
Okay, so yeah, delicious posture here, especially for someone who does a ton of horseback riding. Whoa, I felt this. So, okay, let's break this down a little bit. This is a giant posture. And when I say that, I mean that it can be extremely intense. Say we were not on the bolster and our spine was on the floor, and we added some blocks underneath the thighs to support the legs. We might feel a little bit more secure there. So you can always do that in your own practice. The other thing that I like to encourage is to actually press my hands into the thighs. You saw me just take that naturally. Okay, let's talk about this. So if you're anything like me, which I'm getting the sense that we are pretty similar at this point, I have a difficult time shutting off my brain sometimes. So when I approach a restorative practice like this, I find it difficult at times, unless my body's extremely tired, to shut my brain off. So when I was talking earlier about having this anxiety and this guilt when I'm supposed to be recovering, this is what I'm talking about. It starts to come up in the stillness. This posture is a pretty big posture. I'm focused on the stretch I'm feeling deep inside of the inner thigh. So my brain is a tiny bit distracted because I'm focusing on releasing tension through my body. But at the same time, I can feel my brain just going a million miles an hour. That's why I feel like a lot of people tend to stay away from this recovery and restorative type of practice. If we can't calm our mind and have control over our thoughts and what we're willing to let go of, then we have a much more difficult time dropping into our practice. Overall, lovely posture, lovely practice, absolutely gorgeous. The mind is buzzing. That's what makes it a challenge. Don't know if you've ever experienced that when you're in a quiet posture, not a lot of effort's being exerted. Do you feel like then you're checking in, oh, I have to do A, B, C, D, laundry list here. I got to go pick up the kids. I got to wash the dog. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do that, right? So it just kind of overfills and overspills. Are you ready for the key here? Are you ready for something that helps so much? Pranayama. Breath work. Deep inhalations, counting the breaths. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 8. Try it sometime. When you are practicing pranayama or just a very conscious breathing during these postures, you'll find your mind, it will still move and flit around, and that's totally natural. And when we get angry at ourselves for having a natural response, we actually create more resistance. So then there's a sense of allowing that needs to happen. And then we are able to deepen our practice and become more present in the moment. So I had to shift here. It was just too intense. Let's see the next one.
To do is like deer pose against the wall. So with my knees bent, I'm gonna internally rotate my right hip as if I was trying to bring my knee to the wall, and I'm dropping my right foot down to the floor, and I'm letting my right knee come down. So this is a big inner thigh stretch And then my left leg is just going somewhere over to the side, not really worrying too much about what's happening with my left leg. I'm focusing on opening up through that inner right hip. Some of you might feel this in your knee, which is not what I want. So if this feels painful to you, instead I invite you to do a reclined pigeon pose variation, where you can just cross your right ankle over the top of your left knee, and then just bend your left knee, keeping that foot flat against the wall or down on your bolster. Or you can, of course, just use that variation with your hands, whatever feels the most appropriate to you. So choosing the pose that you'd like to do with your right leg, either an internal hip rotation with this deer pose variation, or reclined pigeon pose, which is an external hip rotation.
Oh, Kassandra is lovely. Absolutely lovely. So I chose to take the reclined pigeon posture, and you'll start to notice that I rock. Now, when I rock, it is actually coming from the idea that my brain is going too fast. So that's another thing that you can bring into your practice at any time. A little bit of movement. Dynamic movement, when I say dynamic, I mean we're actually shifting either gently back and forth or moving in some manner that's gentle and mindful to our body. Opposed to if you're holding a stretch and you're bouncing. When that happens, you can actually cause damage. So we're talking about gentle movement. Gentle movement helps my brain slow down. If this is something you haven't tried before, I highly encourage that you try it. Yes, this practice, we have this particular teacher is telling us it's okay to hold a static posture, and we want to get to that static posture. But you'll notice that with a little bit of movement, I was able to calm my brain down, become more present, and then drop into static. It's kind of like when we're working with kids and we have to meet them where their energy is. We have to meet them way up here, right? And then slowly we bring them back down. We're doing the same thing with our mind here. I have a huge to-do list. This is all happening. I'm going to add a little bit of movement, just a little bit of gentle movement. Okay, that feels good. All right, I'm coming back into my body. Okay, now maybe I feel comfortable enough to drop into stillness.
And then bending the right so that you're bringing your right knee in towards your chest, or whichever one is most appropriate to you at this moment.
We switched over to the other direction, and here's the thing. When I switched over to the other leg, I didn't have to rock for nearly as long, right? And doesn't that make sense? Because I was already primed and got out those kind of big feelings or big thoughts that were kind of whirring around in my head, like bees flitting from flower to flower. Things had calmed down in my nervous system. And I do that by allowing my body to move in the way that it needs to move. We talk about allowing and transitions and allowing transitions to happen within our yoga postures all the time in my classes. So this is something you can absolutely bring into your practice. Watch as things start to shift and change.
One another. And I'm just going to roll over onto my right side so that I can come into a little fetal position. I'm rolling myself off of the bolster and just cradling my head into my arm, resting here for a few moments. So when we release the inversion, we're just letting ourselves ground again, settling back into ourselves. Really feeling the effects of this practice, allowing it to integrate.
Beautiful. Gorgeous. Yes. Allow it to integrate. Allow the practice to absorb into the system, the state of allowing. So if you're like I was yesterday, you can do this practice. If your bed's up against a wall, you could do this practice on your bed. It doesn't have to be on the floor. It doesn't have to be with all the props. You could just stack your typical bed pillows underneath your hips or your head. You can support your body however you need to. One of the most restorative and relaxing postures when I'm feeling intense anxiety, I like to bring the palms of my feet together and then have all the pillows behind me stacked up underneath my chest. So my chest is just really supported, my entire spine is supported, and that opening in the pelvis actually helps me to deeply relax. Find a posture that you love, something that you can connect with that reminds you that you are safe and secure and just feels really good in the body. Believe it or not, we've been doing this since we were babies. Right out of infancy, right into toddlerhood, the first thing we start to do is move our bodies in ways that feel good. So maybe there's a posture that you've done since you were a little kid that just brings you back to that peaceful state. Something to consider. Beautiful practice. We end with a very gentle and soft om, and she says goodbye. And it's just a lovely practice. I would sincerely suggest this practice to my clients. Gorgeous. If they've practiced with me before, they know the modifications. They also know some breath work they could add into this. I just think it would be an overwhelmingly good practice for really anyone to do. And if you are not feeling well, this would be a really nice practice to do in your bed, on the couch, whatever feels right for you, listening to your body. So let's circle back a little bit. The mind. I feel like that's the thing. When your body is not feeling well, or you're just not able to get out of bed without fainting, that can be an overwhelming stressor. That can be something that you are attaching to, this idea that I need to do ABC, right? I get it. I'm right there with you. I have experienced that many, many times. Not only can gentle yoga help, it can absolutely help you recover when the time is right for that recovery. Pranayama can help throughout the duration if it's available to you. It absolutely can serve as a rest and recovery practice. Gratitude is the thing that changes it all. How on earth do you practice gratitude when you feel sick as a dog? Practicing gratitude for your health, for the fact that everything is temporary, that you are able to rest when you are able to rest. Gratitude for listening to your body. Find little things. The law of attraction says to watch a lot of comedies, to get yourself laughing, and that will indeed help. I hope this was really helpful to know that these practices are out there, that they are attainable and available to you even when you don't feel well. So that in itself is something to be grateful for. I want to thank you so much for watching this review. Please check out Yoga with Kassandra. She is lovely, lovely. I will make sure to link to her videos and channel down in the description. So if you haven't checked her out yet, please do. She's fantastic. And if you enjoyed this review, please like and of course subscribe to my channel. If there's something you want to see me review, whether it's on YouTube or another platform, totally fine. You can leave me a comment down in the description. I'll do my best, my absolute best to not only respond to you, but make a video out of what you're looking for. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a warm and wonderful rest of your day.